91, I bought my wellies.
1891.
I'm not going to say which century, but 91, I bought my wellies. And they were great, but I bought them a size small.
Yeah.
Because I was using them for caving mostly. So the worst thing you want is you're straggling around the cave is for your welly to come off. So they're a bit tight, and because you spend a lot of time climbing as well,
Yeah.
so you want a kind of good feel. So they were fairly soft ones, but they were great for caving. But when I gave up climbing, my feet got bigger again, and I found that the wellies were uncomfortable for just kind of general around the garden type stuff.
Mm.
So a few years ago, I bought a pair of rigger boots because they were on sale in B&Q. I was like, yeah, these will do. Yeah, steel. They've got steel DeWalt as well. Yeah, it's like, yeah, it must be good if they're
They're all
DeWalt.
pushing
Yeah.
the boat out.
Yeah, steel toe cap, which is okay, but they're a bit heavy. But yeah, halfway up the thigh. I'm not going halfway up the thigh. Halfway up the calf. Steel shank, so nice and solid. So doing a bit of digging in the garden, no worries about kind of damaging your foot on a spade or something like that.
Yeah.
But every time I wear them, they rub my sides of my leg, where kind of level with the sort of calf, the sort of top of the boot. They just rub them raw.
Yeah, you just got to stuff your jeans into them. That's the thing.
Even with jeans and long socks.
Right.
5 minutes of walking, and I've got raw legs. So, and I've tried kind of squashing them, so they're kind of, because they came out of the box, they're quite.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But then I tried squashing them, so they were kind of more round. But yeah, it doesn't work. So
I
don't walk anywhere in them. Yeah, I just don't walk anywhere in them. I might put them on the garden. They kept by the back door. I might put them on if I need them for the garden, but otherwise, doesn't happen.
I had a pair of just bog standard rigger boots, and I think my wife just nicked them. She uses them for the garden and stuff. But I've got a base. I think is the brand that I wear for like steel toe caps and stuff. And I think they're composite rather than steel, or fancy Italian leather outers with it's an anti-fatigue sole on them, which for like standing up in the workshop all day is amazing. And I got them from this woodworking power tool show up in there's a place, Nottingham way, I think, a few years back. But yeah, they've been fantastic. They're starting to wear through a little bit now, but I've put a lot of miles on them, and they've been super comfy. I'd definitely be going back to them.
Yeah, I had a pair of until. I've still got them. I still do use them. I've got a pair of Sight, so just bargain basement tool station B&Q Screwfix type shoes, steel toe cap shoes, and they've been my go-to for a few years now for kind of sort of daily wear. I stopped wearing them for daily wear this year. I went back to kind of a pair of Clarks because I found they were just a bit too heavy, and they've been okay. They've lost some of their waterproofness, which is kind of one of the reasons I bought them, because I wanted something that was waterproof, and I wanted something that was hard wearing, and I wanted something that was wide fitting. And actually, being able to just pop into B&Q, try them on. It's just easy, because I hate shoe shopping, really do. There's just so many, just like, that looks nice. No, it doesn't fit. I'll try that one instead. And you end up with like 50 pairs of shoes. But yeah, work shoes seem to be built on wider lasts. It's like, but anything else, even hiking boots, not.
Yeah. Well, I keep meaning to years and years and years ago, I was wearing my kind of daily boots were an old pair of para boots, and they were amazing. Because once you've got them broken in, they're just comfiest things you'll ever put on your feet. I completely wore them out, and then
the German ones.
No, UK.
Okay.
UK para ones. So like it's the all leather solid ones.
I had a pair of the Special Forces issue ones, which is slightly different. They were the Thinsulate and Gore-Tex lined boots.
Right. Yeah.
They were probably one of the best pairs of boots I've ever had. They were comfortable straight out the. Well, they didn't come in boxes. They were comfortable, sort of first time wearing. Never had a blister from them. Walked miles in them.
Yeah.
They would clean up really nicely as well. So great in winter because the thin lining. Never got wet feet. Never got cold feet. Not too hot in summer either because Gore-Tex. And then I'd had them for probably about 10 years. And there was still plenty of wear in them because I didn't overly wear them. Because if I was going on the hills, I'd put hiking boots on. And I went to wear, I noticed a bit of rubber just a bit loose one day and kind of thing. And then about a week later, the entire soles, the bottom of the soles had just if I'd stepped in acid, that just started crumbling off and crumbling away. And it was sad because it was so comfortable. It's just like my favorite pair of boots, almost.
Well, that was the thing. I after wearing through the para boots, I shifted over to Magnums. So that's what mates of mine sort of put me onto, and wore those for years. Went through a few different pairs of Magnums, and had they did a fantastic pair that were super lightweight. So they were basically kind of like running shoes, but with a high top. They were kind of on the Magnum kind of platform, but super, super light, and like absolutely mega comfortable.
I found it too narrow. I tried Magnums on. I found it too narrow.
Interesting.
For me. Again, but why for? I mean, my hiking boots.
Though.
Yeah, my hiking boots, which are a pair of Scarpa, I bought probably about 2001. Cost a fair bit. And probably the most expensive pair of boots I've ever bought. I think it was like £150 even back then. But I mean, we went all the way from Plymouth up to Betws-y-Coed, North Wales, because it was the only place I could find them in stock. And it was Cotswold up there.
Yeah,
and put them there. And we had a weekend of it as well, but it was they did an extra wide fitting. So you can't find many hiking boots that can get the option of a wide fitting. Got the wide fitting. They're so nice. They're so comfortable. Heavy now. I mean, they're a 3-4 season boot. Yeah, you can put a pair of flexible crampons on them. Couldn't climb in them with crampons, but you could put kind of walking crampons on. Yeah, they're proper. They're good boots. I do like that. Dave mentioned Keen. I tried a pair of Keen on a few years ago, and I should have bought them. Probably about 10 years ago now. I should have bought them. They were so comfortable again, straight out of the box, but they were a bit steep price-wise. I think it was like £120 for just a pair of shoes. I was just like, oh, these are comfortable, but I'm not sure I can justify it.
It's a catch-22, isn't it? I mean, it's the boots paradox anyway, isn't it? For
Rhymes? Yeah. Is it Rhymes? Trying to remember the name of the guy.
I think so, yeah. It's the Pratchett's writing, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I've sort of in recent years I've got to that point of not so much buy it for life type stuff, but like those base safety boots were £80 or something, and they buying like work shoes and stuff. If I'm in them, I'll buy decent ones. So like before the work shoes I've got, I bought about 8 years ago, and they're still perfectly serviceable. They're probably getting to a point where I could do with resoling them, and they're starting to look a little bit sort of tired and stuff, but they're still won to a wedding last year. It's they're still smart enough. But yeah, the comment before about like safety trainers. I've had a few pairs of those over the years that have been fantastic as well. Just sort of, like you say, for wider fits and stuff.
Yeah, I've had a few good approach shoes. I've had a few good pairs of those. They've been quite good. But I had one pair, I had a Salomon pair approach shoes that were so comfortable. And they lasted about 10 years. And I about a year or two after I bought them, the same pair but in a different colorway were on sale online somewhere. And I thought, well, I'll get a pair of those because these been so comfortable, and I'll keep them. And when these ones wear out, I can just play them. And they came, and it was just like, they're the same size, they're the same make, same model, different color, but these don't fit as well. And they never became a daily pair. I kept them, and I did wear them out. But they kind of became just like a gardening pair of shoes. But the first pair of Salomons, they were falling apart by the time I finished with them, but they were so comfortable.
Well, I had my kind of daily pair of trainers that I've been wearing are Puma disc. So that instead of having the laces on, they've just got this like disc on the front that you twist the disc around and it pulls wires that tighten the shoe up. So it's a really, really even kind of tension. And they're unbelievably comfortable. It's the ones I was walking around.
Salomon do boots and trainers with that as well, I think. I think with the trainers are more of a kind of pull cord rather than a disc. But I think they've got boots that have got the disc because it's higher up. I thought about something like that because one of the things I struggle with actually is doing up laces.
I think that's the thing for me is if I'm doing them up tight, trying to get the same like consistent feel from foot to foot. You know, if one's a little bit tighter up top, then that just does my head in. That's why it's switching to something that's just no fuss. It's that kind of brain hacking.
I'm kind of okay with that because what I do like about laces is you can kind of adjust them differently. So if you're feeling if your front of your foot's feeling a bit sort of narrower or fuller, you can kind of adjust, and you can tie. Not many people actually sort of know that. Most people tie their laces in one of two ways. They either kind of do the wraparound when one going up the back, which is kind of common in the military for kind of dress shoes.
Yeah,
so
that's to get the straight lines.
You just see the straight front.
Yeah.
Or they do the kind of I'm just going to find the middle,
the crisscross,
back goes to the top, and then crisscross, which is quite
so
a lot of people who train.
A few years ago, I experimented with loads and loads of different ways. I say a few years ago, probably 15, 20 years ago. So for the course of a few years, like in my boots and things, I was lacing them different ways every few weeks to just try and see the differences. And like thinking lacing from the middle out or lacing from the top down, or there's loads of different ways of doing it.
Or straight lacing at the bottom, and then kind of there's the cross lacing as you go further up.
I did a lot of that kind of playing around, because what people don't realize about that kind of thing is the different lace patterns allow you to adjust the pressure at different points on your foot. So for different things, where if you're walking longer distances and you need less pressure down the front but more up top, whereas most people just pull it all tight and tie them up. But yeah, the switch to like the Puma disc ones that I made years ago, they've been fantastic for just being able to put my feet in and walk away. My friend recommended a pair for like parkour, so super lightweight, very similar style like running shoe, weigh like absolutely nothing. And they'd had an offer on it, like he'd done several years in his pair, and they were phenomenal. He'd been all over Scotland in them and stuff. And he was looking to buy a new pair, and they had them on offer, and they were £5 a pair. They'd like just dropped. So he said, "Here's the link." So I just grabbed a pair, and we were talking about before, they're like super tight, super narrow, because of course you need that for like climbing up walls or running, jumping. I can't wear them. I put them on. They're my size. I put them on, and I'm like, my toes are all like crunched up.
My climbing shoes. I found my climbing shoes a while ago. They're in the bag with a bunch of my climbing gear, which I probably need to try and sell because I'm not going climbing again. But I found my climbing shoes, which I bought when I was at uni. I had two pairs. I've had two pairs of climbing shoes. One pair I had, which were essentially climbing slippers, so they had no laces. Actually, no, they did have laces, but the laces were just to kind of hold on your foot, not to kind of couldn't really adjust it. They were super tight. I just found them too uncomfortable. But my climbing boots, they were just a slight higher, just got the ankle slightly, were I think a size small, and that's quite what you do. We bought the size small, And I tried to I found them a few years ago and tried to put them on. I was just like, yeah, my feet don't fit in these anymore. And there's no way I'm putting up with this amount of pain anymore either.
Yeah.
It's just like, your feet used to go numb. If you were climbing all day, you just go absolutely numb. And actually did over the years I was climbing, when I was climbing regularly, my feet did actually get smaller and change. When I started university, I think I was taking kind of an average of about sort of 10.5. But by the time I kind of finished university and spent most of my university years climbing, I think I was down to a 9.5. It's my normal daily shoe, and I was wearing like an 8. I was wearing like an 8.5, I think. And it's just like, now I'm 9.5 sort of size. Yeah. One will fit nicely in a 9, the other one needs a 9.5, and that's a problem when you're buying shoes. Like, you just absolutely hate it. Never mind the kind
taking of two different size shoes up to the counters. Can I buy these, please?
Yeah, or sneaking around a place like Clark's where they put all the shoes out. You're just like, oh, look, same one's different. Yeah. So they check, don't they? They kind of thing.
Yeah, they're not.
I wouldn't do that.
Well, I did that years ago. We bought, again, I say years ago, probably 25 years ago, maybe. Bought a pair of shoes from. Yeah. Oh yeah, it was a long time ago. And we bought a pair of trainers from Macro, and it was the usual story of like, try the one foot on. They were tied together, so they're tied together in the shop, and tried one on, and it fitted great. So we bought them, got them home, and then we realised that it was 2 different sizes.
And they're tied together, yeah.
Yeah.
They try and buy supermarket, buy shoes in the supermarket, you're desperate, and they're like tied together. It's like, right, do I try and stand here with tied?
Not tied by laces, like factory.
Yeah.
Fastened together with elastic between them. Yeah. Like you had to cut them apart.
So like, right, do I try and take this apart so I can try them on properly, or do I try and just one foot at a time, or do I try and stand? You
just do that shuffle.
Yeah, I do have to go shoe shopping at some point though. My daily walking shoes. Because the past few years, I put my shoes on to go and walk the dog in the morning. I don't take them off until she's had a second walk. Yeah. And because doing laces.
Well, I mean, when you're wearing the knee-high boots that you do, it's got to be an ordeal.
See, I think back to kind of like the days of old where people kind of did wear kind of long boots. That was quite cool. If years ago I saw something, where was it? Oh, I can't remember what I saw now, but it Big Trouble in Little China. Great film.
Going back a bit again.
I don't know if it would stand the test of time. I remember it as a great film. And two of my favorite things from that film was that he had this really cool Gerber knife, which at the time I was a bit more into knives back then than I am now. Not that I'm not into knives now, but I was kind of. I knew what knives were being made then. I mean, the selection now is just incredible compared to sort of back in those days. And he had these amazing pair of boots. And then I was watching something probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and I saw somebody wearing a pair of boots. I thought, those are cool boots. They were a slightly different style of boots, and I looked them up. I found them. They were called adventure boots. They're basically like they could be used for like motorbiking, but unlike a standard motorbike boot, kind of off-road boot, these ones were also suitable for walking in.
Okay.
So it was like, well, they'd make really good everyday. And it was like, oh, they're how many hundreds of pounds? Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I saw it was a really cool style. They call it an engineer boot, and it's sort of, that kind of mid calf length, cowboy boot height kind of thing, but not done as a cowboy boot. but they had like a like a pocket on the side for putting your knife into or putting your Leatherman into or stuff like that. And they're really, really cool. And then when I started looking at them, again, this is probably 20 years ago. I was looking at them to try and find a pair, and then it's like every bit of information about this style of boot, they were only in women's sizes. And it's like like an old, Industrial Revolution era style of boot to have your tools with you, and then at some point it's been, the fashion is kind of, no, guys aren't allowed to have these now. It's just like, if I was a size smaller, I'd be able to buy them, because you can usually get women's shoes up to 8. It's just like,
it's interesting how kind of sort of fashion has kind of sort of changed and what's in and what's not. I mean, high heels started for men, not women. Yeah, I mean, there's sort of point. And there's things like, when I first started walking properly, not walking as a baby type walking, but hill walking properly, I picked up. So I can't remember what I used to do when I was in Scouts. I can't remember if it was in Scouts when I had it, but certainly after I'd left Scouts and I was kind of doing sort of hill walking, mountain walking, I had a couple of pairs of breeches. So over the knee, one pair was thick cord. It was corduroy. They were horrible when it got wet. Better than jeans, but they were so comfortable. And I had a pair then that were, I can't remember what company they were proper mountain ones. They were kind of designed with a quite hard wearing, quite a thick material. It was sort of windproof, quite abrasion resistant. They were comfortable too. I used to run really comfortable, and because you'd have to wear long socks, so essentially kind of knee length socks, and that was a bit of a pain sometimes, because if you, particularly I think the cord ones, if I rolled the socks down because it got hot, then the Velcro that was kind of would hold the bottom together, which was scratching your leg. It's like, but it was just like, they were so comfortable. I mean, they looked ridiculous, but they were so practical. Big pockets as well.
I've had my fair share of ridiculous looks, don't worry. I mean, some would say I'm still rocking one now, but
I had a pair of climbing trousers, which I absolutely loved, made by a company called Troll. Really good. Really, I don't know if they're still going, but they made mostly climbing gear, so carabiners, harnesses, helmets, that sort of stuff, based up in North Wales. But they had a pair of trousers called the Omni, and the ones I had were the Omni Clown. So they had a few, but you could get them in black, and I really wanted a pair of black, but I could never find a pair in black. They had a built-in kind of, they're just really comfortable. They were made from a material called Tactile, which was lightweight, windproof, dried really quickly. They did get wet. They were nice fit. They were a good fit. They were designed for climbing. So they kind of had an extra panel in the crotch, which meant that they had what's called diamond panels. So it meant if you were kind of sticking your leg up near somewhere by your ear, you wouldn't kind of suddenly get kind of go up an octave in your voice. But this pair, they were the Omni Clown. They were a white base, and they had black, pink, and yellow squares in a random pattern all over them.
Amazing!
They were so comfortable. I loved those trousers. Somehow, after we got married, they disappeared.
Such a shame. I mean, maybe wearing them for your wedding day was probably a bad idea, but
actually, well, I was going to say on my wedding day, I did actually before I got dressed properly, I was wearing a pair of Ron Hill climbing tights. I used to rock the climbing tight.
They
don't look so good. They don't look so good on a 50-year-old body. I could get away with it in my 20s, but
I mean, in fairness, back in my college days, I had I've always had a bit of an alternative look, but I had the long leather trench coat that I'd modified. So I'd put a load of chrome studs, press studs down. So taking all the original toggles, taking all those out, and put the chrome press studs down.
Just quick flashing.
Just for not having to faff with, because I was riding a motorbike at the time. So it was easier to just, if you've got your gloves on and you need to get access to something rather than trying to piss around with a toggle. But what I'd also done is, because there's a split at the back, I'd also put press studs on the bottom corners, so I could basically clip each side of the jacket to my thighs, so I could then ride with the long leather trench coat on, and it wouldn't flap out the back. It was kind of each leg was attached to the corresponding leg. Then I was also wearing a massive pair of New Rock boots as well. So I had the full and the big flare jeans and the whole lot. So it's quite an intimidating look, I think, for just big grizzly thing in all the leathers and everything. But then I'd kind of mix it up on occasion and had this bright red sort of. Well, they were trousers essentially, but like shiny almost, not like like a nylon. No, not PVC, but like just like like a nylon-y kind of thing. Basically, I looked like I was Santa at the bottom, and Morpheus at the top.
Santa goes golf.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, they were. That was a hilarious look. Looking back on it now, I don't think there were enough photos, unfortunately, to dig those out. In fairness, that was also around the time I had bright blue hair as well. So it was an interesting look in the past.
Yeah, I think some of the photos from the kind of early 90s, sort of my climbing days, probably best kept in photo albums or boxes wherever they are. They're not digital yet. But
yeah.
I mostly wore. I think probably from the age of 18, I mostly wore outdoor kit until probably into my 30s in casual wear, not for school wear, obviously, or work wear. But I think I still have a lot of outdoor kit. It's good stuff. I like it. It's good stuff, and it's practical.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's normally, and I've always been either poor or cheapskate.
Or both.
It's like both at the same time. I'd often get like last season's colours. There used to be a outdoor shop in Abergavenny called Trek It. One of their first shops. I think they've got a few more, or they had a few shops eventually. I don't know if they're still going, but I used to kind of sort of go in there. I was a regular in there. It's like when there was a change of season, be like, oh, this jacket's down from £100 to £30. Well, I'll have that now. It's like, yes, it's blue, red, and black. It's like, yep, that's fine. Doesn't matter. It's high performance. With high performance and in season last year, it'll do for me now this year.
Yeah, you can be 12 months out of date, mate. I think you're fine in that kind of situation.
Yeah, I did keep that jacket for about 20 years, but
I mean, is that you've been 21 years out of date at that point? Is that going to be a problem?
No, not really. Yeah. Although it was a bit of an annoying jacket, actually. It was a nice fleece. It was a sprayway fleece. It was quite a nice fleece. But again, it was designed as one of their high performance range, which could mean a lot of different things. But it had a panel that went from the wrist all the way down the inside of the arm and then down the side of the jacket. So there's like this panel that was about sort of 2 or 3 inches wide, both sides, which was designed for flexibility. The problem is the rest of the jacket was made from something like Polartec 200 or 300, which was quite a thick fleece. I think it's 200, I think. And so there's this really, really warm fleece, apart from this section that was all the way down
vent
here,
holes.
Which was just like, so if you wanted to stay warm, you had to keep your arms to your side. It was just like, as soon as you started lifting your arms up, it was like, oh, there's a bit of a draft there.
I think that's
the fabric.
That's one of the best innovations that's come out of teenagers being teenagers, is that a lot of modern hoodies or hooded jackets now that have thumb holes in the cuffs from the amount of time like teenagers would like pull their hands in and just like sticking their thumbs on it to the point where that they were through anyway. So now they're actually stitching them in as a thing so that you can have the
that's been I mean the first time I saw that. Two places I remember saying. I suspect the first one I'm going to tell you is probably the earlier of the two, and I suspect it's supposed to be older. The British Army used to have, for cold weather use, something which was called the Norwegian Army shirt. So whether it probably came from the Norwegian sort of forces, essentially it was it was designed as sort of mid layer. It was about the thickness of a hoodie. And it had a quarter zip, which came up, but the collar folded over, so it would either come out sort of quite big and open, but you could actually, if you zipped it all the way up, it would kind of go. You could go over your chin, so you have to fold it down, so it made like a turtleneck, and that had thumb holes. But Helly Hansen had a jacket called the Field Jacket, which came out. It's possibly the 70s, but certainly in the early 80s, which was a fiber pile jacket rather than a fleece. It was fiber pile, a double fiber pile. So it had kind of the knobbly bits on both sides. And that had longer sleeves with a thumb hole.
Yeah.
That was a superb jacket. I was wanting one of those. Never managed to get one. But
so
again, they last a long time.
I mean, it being the sort of size and shape that I am, trying to like just buy bog standard clothes off a shelf is an absolute nightmare. One of the problems with being both a fat guy and a muscly guy is that you end up disproportionately sort of barrel shaped. So having a big gut is fine, but having a big chest and big arms as well and broad shoulders means that you just every top you buy that goes around the kind of around your shell ends up just sitting really high, and then you wash it once and then you end up with a belly top. So it's just it comes to your belly button, and that's about the best you get. But there's it was a startup called Merrymaking. It's two girls that started up, and they were making animal hoods. It's absolutely amazing. So you could get they do reversible ones. So it's a big, fur, just like, a hood that you could throw over. So it's ideal for like winter or something. You pick the animal you want to be, and then you just end up with this, big furry hood around your head, keeping your head warm. But it's got, it's in the relevant animal's fur, or not real fur, but looks like you've got like a bear's head on with bear ears, and really really cool stuff. But they had a load of other things that they were making. That the hoods is what they were known for. And one of the other things they did was extra long-armed sweatshirt. So it would just be, your bog standard over the head pullover sweatshirt type thing, but the arms were twice the length. So you could then, obviously, if you drop your arms down and drop the sleeves off, they'd run down to your knees. Or you could bunch them right the way up. So you could just have this big ruffled, bunched up, cozy, cuddly. And it's in the winter, it's super cozy to just cuddle up in this thing. And they're no longer running as a proper business or anything now, but that was their kind of like the first. Well, my wife and I ordered a handful of hoods, so the three of us have all got them. Me, my wife, and my daughter, and then my wife started making them as well. But doing the sweatshirts, they basically just buy two sweatshirts, cut the arms off, cut the cuffs off, and then just sew an extra pair of arms on, because you couldn't get the same jersey material to just buy as fabric. But yeah, it's just a really really ridiculous bit of random clothing you could just get. And it fits. That's the main thing.
Yeah, it's interesting how kind of fashion determines kind of what things fit or not as well. I mean, a number of times I've had jackets, like suit jackets, and kind of having to wear them for work. And more often than not, I tended not to wear them in the classroom because I tend to get a bit too warm wearing them. But I wear them around. Used to wear them around school. But a few times I kind of had them because my when I was climbing, my shoulders were quite big. Not as big now. They're still okay, but they're not as big as they used to be. And a number of times, I'd kind of sort of lean over to sort of do something, and kind of my back would flex, and you kind of you feel the stitching breaking. It's just like, oh, not again.
Don't get me started on the current trend with shirts. You know, if buying a work shirt, I'm buying with a 19-inch neck, and then all of them on the shelf are saying, 19-inch neck, but slim fit. It's like, no, just no. And like, if you're buying them at a waist size that fits me, the legs are proportionate to the waist. You can't have, skinny fit trousers on the waist size that I wear because they don't go up past my calves.
I've had that as well. I used to have big calves and well-developed glutes. And if you kind of get the wrong big quads, I used to have big quads.
Yeah,
Quadzilla. And it's like sometimes you get the wrong kind of sort of cut of jeans. It's like I can't move in these.
Yeah,
I literally physically I can't bend over. I just could not bend over. A few times I've tried jeans on. I was just like, no, can't do this.
That's where you got that disproportionate kind of thing. If you've got the muscle size there, but
had muscle size there, yeah.
Well, yeah, but having the muscle size there, but not having the ballast up top to overcome the fabric. When you get to the point where, like, quite a few of my pairs of trousers, they're tight on, and then I go to move, and then I just hear or feel that sudden breezy section. It probably says a lot about the, where I buy my, cheap trousers from. When they happen to appear in the middle of the store.
I used to I'd get a lot of my work clothes from Marks and Spencer's because they were reasonably priced, especially if you went to a sale. I particularly liked like their kind of sort of shirts, but actually sort of finding sort of stuff that was comfortable and would last. I used to find with shirts, particularly if I bought cheap shirts, they would not last very long. But if I bought good quality shirts, not the most expensive, but talking here, if you buy 10 quid each shirt, they didn't last. But if you spent £20 or £25 on a shirt, they would last more than 2.5 times as much. I mean, it's Vime's law again. If you can afford to spend a bit more expensive, it lasts longer.
In general,
yeah. Not always the case, and sales can make a difference as well. Also depends how you look after it as well.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is a lot of I've still got work shirts that I bought 10 years ago, and I can still, when I'm in the office and required to wear a shirt, I can still wear them. But yeah, I think it's just. It's the struggle, isn't it? Because you can get something that it's got nice fabric, but then there's a duff stitch in it, and it all starts falling apart. Or you get something it just starts going in the wrong place, or something like that.
Or you find something that's nice, and then you go and buy another one because it's like back to the shoes I was talking about. You think
exactly,
I really like this shirt, but somebody else sewed it. It's the same size nominally, but somebody else sewed it, and now it doesn't fit nicely. Because we have to learn to sew, modify our own. Do you like Ellen does?
Exactly, and that is. I keep meaning to get my. I bought one of the super cheap hand crank sewing machines that everyone got a couple of years ago.
The leather ones.
The leather ones, yeah. So I bought one of those, and I still haven't actually properly set it up. I keep meaning to, and then not getting around to it. That's my intention. We've got a couple of other sewing machines in the house. My wife's a phenomenal seamstress. She makes all sorts of clothes. Much like Ellen and Billy and all of our other friends who do the same thing. It's that kind of like every time you see one of them doing one of their projects, you think, I really should do that. It's like being around these people that do this. You think it's why have I not done this? But having said that, a few years ago, I'd repaired a pair of socks because there was a hole in the toe or a hole in the heel or something like that, and I'd sort of gone into work. It's like, repaired a pair of socks, and the looks and the questions I got from my colleagues are just like, why are you fixing a pair of socks? Because they're a comfortable pair of socks.
I think it was Christmas before last. Ellen, my wife, sorry, not Ellen. My wife is Helen, but easy slip. She bought me a darning mushroom because I wanted to dance with my socks, which I haven't yet. Still, I've actually got a drawer full of socks because I've got one of my. I've got a weird shaped body and weird functioning body. My toes. I have long toes, shall we say? I have probably longer than average toes. Yeah, and my toes, when I walk, my toes flip up. And I often wear shoes out from the inside out, and socks off, particularly from my big toe. My toenails are stupidly hard. I could literally use an angle grinder to cut my nails if it wasn't so dangerous. So I literally cannot cut my toenails without having first had a shower to soften them.
Yeah.
So I have to cut my toenails immediately after sort of having a shower. And so I tend to wear them out. My toes flick up, so I go through socks quite quickly. But I've literally got a drawer full. Yeah, I've got a drawer full. I'd like to say, so I've got my kind of socks and t-shirts and things. I've got in our bedroom, we've got a wardrobe each, and we've got a chest of drawers each, which is 3 wide drawers, so probably about 3 foot wide, about kind of CA deep, and then there's 2 smaller ones at the top. So my kind of socks are kept in one of the smaller ones, but the bottom drawer is half of kind of sports gear, most of which I don't wear anymore. But I still got like my heavy.
Yeah, I've got a chunk of sports gear as well.
So it's got swimming trunks, but it's got kind of some of my old walking gear. It's got my old cycling shorts and things like that. But that probably takes about half of it, and it's an old lab coat. But then the rest is stuff full because of socks that they're not worn out except for that hole in the toe, which is really uncomfortable. So I've got probably about 25, 30 socks that I really should darn.
I know that we've kind of gone over this before with mine, but as we've said in the past about, or even earlier tonight about going back and buying something later on and it not being as good as the previous one. I'd run through buying the same pair of socks or the same pack of pairs of socks. Like every few months, I'd just add to the collection for a few years. And when I got to the point of like wearing all of those out, I was so frustrated trying to find pairs that would actually match. So although they were all the same pattern and style, just trying to get them to match from like 2 or 3 years apart of where I bought them, and the elastic is worn differently and stuff like that. I got so fed up with it. Went on eBay and bought a bulk thing of 100 pairs of socks. Me and my wife just both share them. Works great. Don't have to worry. All the socks match. They've all been worn the same. It's super easy. Don't have to think. Just reach in, grab 2 socks. But in an effort to try and not keep hold of the old socks, as and when each of them would wear through, and I'd end up with a toe hole or a heel hole, I would just cut that chunk of the sock off, because what was ended up happening is they'd go in the wash, and then I'd grab them out again, put 2 socks on, and realise my toe was sticking out one of them. So what I do is I just cut them so that, because they're all like sports socks.
Yeah.
So then the elastic from around the ankle, that's the bit that we kept, and then we just turn them inside out, stitch the bottoms, flip them back over, and then you've got a little elasticated pouch for putting stuff like wires and things in. Super useful.
Clever.
So I've got a big stack of those that I still haven't got round to. We've done about 3 or 4, and then there's like another 20 or 30 waiting to be done that I just still haven't got around to doing.
Quite a few years of this one of the schools I used to teach at down here in Kent, the technology department were doing a project with the kind of year 7s or year 8s, where they were making sock puppets. So,
Right.
but then they stopped because for quite a few years it was a case of, oh, pair of socks worn out. Oh, I've got 4 or 5. I'll take them in. Yeah, wash them first, obviously, and sort of take them into the sort of the technician. The technician go, "Ah, fantastic, great, thanks, Andy." It's like, yeah, we needed a few more. It's like, yeah, and over the course, yeah, they did get quite enough stock to be able to do this. So I think it was quite a nice little project. Yeah, it ticked a box for kind of the school doing textiles, because they didn't run textiles as GCSE. It was a boys' school. So yeah, stereotype. Why couldn't they? But they didn't. In the end, when I started, they were doing electronic products, food technology, and product design, and possibly also just resistant materials. So they were doing 4. By the time I left, they were only doing product design, which is a shame, really. But as I've talked about the electronics before, I took it over for the last year and wanted to carry. We had people asking to carry it on, asking to do A level, and it's just like, no, turn the room into a corridor and dump a part of the stuff in skips, which I rescued as much as I could, but there was a limit to how much I could rescue. But that was nice to be able to kind of go, yay, there you go, good use for a sock with a hole. Didn't matter about the hole; they could stitch it up. But I've got a bunch of I need to kind of darn them. It's a thing to do. I need to get doing with that. We probably should explain to the listeners why it's just us waffling. We were supposed to be chatting to Dominic Kelly, Sneak Dante on Instagram, Tech Dante on Twitter, and we were going to chat
Inferno as well, knocking about in.
Yes, blacksmithing. Who's works in a theatre. I'm not sure what his proper title is, but he's in charge of props and things like that for a theatre in London,
and full stages and.
Yeah, I mean, he's just finished with
or something.
Yeah, just finished with Glyndebourne, I think, as well. He's been doing Glyndebourne, which is an opera. For those who don't know, is a quite famous, world famous opera down towards the south coast. It's not an opera house as such. It's essentially in some stately home garden, I think. And he'd also just last weekend he was at EMF. He
was electromagnetic field.
Yes, I was going to say Electromotive Festival, but that's not the right. EMF.
No, it's
Nirvana. Yeah, which only happens every couple of years.
Yeah, every 2 years.
So I was kind of like inspired by Dave Bauer. Dave Bauer's, people haven't heard it yet. Dave Bauer's episode 2 of, I forgot the name off the top of my head. Making Problems podcast. He was chatting to Patty Brooklyn. Patty Brooklyn's a friend. Hopefully we'll have her on here at some point. And she's spent a lot of time working in theatre, and I was quite inspired by that. I want to talk a bit more about theatre stuff because I find it really interesting. So we're hoping to talk about that, plus EMF, and obviously his own work as well. But for some reason, we don't know why.
He stood us up.
Yeah. Well, we have to kind of chat amongst ourselves, which obviously is not a problem, but we just hope he's okay. I mean, it's...
Yes.
I mean, I heard from him yesterday. Everything's fine. He sent me the kind of pictures and things that I normally ask for.
He's an incredibly busy man.
Yes.
Times, so it's
well, hopefully we'll sort of man getting back on at some other time. EMF. There's seen a few good videos come out of EMF on YouTube.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff.
It's an interesting one actually. Comment from Tom there saying that EMF sounds cool, but it's so expensive. As a festival, it's not actually that pricey.
And the price includes camping, doesn't it?
This is the
ticket
thing.
It's your accommodation. Assuming you haven't got to buy your tent.
Yes, and that's the thing. So things like Shambhala that I go to every year, it's similarly priced. So for essentially a residential festival rather than something like Maker Central, where it's a day event that runs. There's obviously a huge price difference between the two. 20 quid a ticket versus 200 quid a ticket.
Yeah.
but for what you actually get for that time, it's festival prices. You know, it's
Yeah,
definitely
because you
pretty
can
reasonable.
you can join Thursday night. EMF opens Thursday night, or
I
was it
think
Friday?
so, to get set up, maybe.
Right. I mean, I only heard about it, I think, last year or the year before. Not something I'd come across
2018,
before on my
2019, I think.
radar.
I saw.
Yeah, but it's something I'd never come across it before, and I want to go.
Yeah.
But also, I think in some ways it's good that it's 2 years, because A, it gives me time to save. B, it also gives me time to maybe develop my skills to a point where I don't feel like a complete imposter turning up.
I've said it before, Andy, but as a degree level physicist who teaches physics as an educator to people, with one of your YouTube channels being physics mad, I think you can safely walk in there with a smile and a business card and say, "Guys, I'm home."
It did look so cool. It does look so cool. It's kind of,
for those not familiar with EMF, it is essentially it's a massive group of nerds, generally tech focused or science focused, and they set up little mini villages. So, like, part of the staple of, like your accommodation or your camping privileges include high-speed internet and power line hookup and everything else for your tent. It is a festival for nerds, but it's all technology talks and light shows and gadgetry. And I think one year they as part of your entry, when you turned up, you got a digital name badge that you had to program yourself.
so it sounds it's a bit like DEF CON, but without the kind of worry that you're going to get kind of
it's
by
like
hackers.
I think it's a British equivalent of a cross between DEF CON and what's that one they do out in the desert?
Burning Man.
Burning Man. So there's lots of weird and crazy contraptions and lots of lovely, fun, nerdy, techie stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
so. Yeah, there's
definitely
talk
want to
because
there's
there's enough talk in the Makers Waffle WhatsApp group of trying to get a Makers Waffle village set up for 2024. I think we might have to aim for that.
Yeah, not just turn up. Yeah, actually have our own village.
Yeah,
why not? Yeah, I mean, by
Absolutely.
2024, we'll be huge in terms of podcasting and sort of Joe Rogan levels by then. So yeah, they'll be asking us to come, they're paying us to go.
I mean, just letting us go would be good enough.
What a Winnebago with just red M&Ms only. Yeah.
My brother used to work in an M&M factory, but he didn't last long. He kept throwing away all the ones with W written on them. That's what he kept telling me when I was a kid. He didn't actually, but didn't actually work at one, I should stress.
Yeah, I think there's a few jokes like similar to that, about kind of the curved bananas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of hopefully we're gonna chat to him about theatres and also chat to him about things. But yeah, for whatever reason we don't know yet, he's not here. So
we'll get back on and waffle.
Yeah, rather than just grabbing somebody random. I'm sure we could have probably got somebody in randomly last minute, but
absolutely.
We'll waffle just us for a bit.
We've always got Tom as a guest in the chat for us.
Yeah.
Now, I suppose while we're sort of waffling away, I'm going to waffle about the fun and games we had yesterday morning.
Ah, yes, yeah, that was. You had some severe fun and games.
Yeah, we'd had a lovely Friday evening. We'd had plans for a productive Saturday morning. I was going to get up, finish the last couple of little bits in the loft, getting some cable conduits in and stuff like that. So, nice easy night, gets to bed, and then woken up just before 7 o'clock. My daughter bounding upstairs, going, "It's flooded! It's flooded!" Ah! So we jumped out of bed trying to work out what the hell was going on. Ran downstairs to find out that one of the hot water pipes going to our bath had decided to rupture at some point during the night. Now, fortunately, our kitchen and bathroom are both ground floor, so you walk through the kitchen into the bathroom because it's an old house and it's stupid. But the entire area is tiled, floor to ceiling, the whole lot. Walls and floor all tiled, sealed, a lot. But what that did mean is that there was about 30 mil of water when you step over the threshold down into the kitchen, straight into a puddle of very warm water. So by the time we got through the kitchen to the bathroom to try and work out what was going on and what that raging noise of high pressure water sound was, my wife had to turn back. She'd got in there first. She had to turn back because it was burning her toes.
Yeah.
So we bailed out around about 500 litres, I reckon, of hot water.
So your gas bill's going to be up a bit this month?
A little bit, yeah. Don't know how long it had been going for, but it was one of the flexis had corroded and had gone pop. Fortunately, we are on fixed rate water, so the water bill won't at least.
That's a plus. Yeah, we are too. A lot of, for those who don't know, a lot of homes now in the UK are on water meters, so you pay per litre
per unit. Yeah,
meter cubed. Do you know what I think it is? So yeah, it's easy for us. The feed from the street comes in as, because about 3 years ago they put water meters in the entire village, but they couldn't for the majority of our street. There's some newer houses they could do, but they essentially from the street to the houses there's one feed. And then that splits, but I don't know where it splits.
Yeah.
So the problem with that is that if I go to the street and turn off the water to the house, I turn off next door.
Yeah.
As well. So it's kind of like if you have an emergency, you got to go, oh, I've had to turn the water off. Or if you need to kind of things done.
So fortunately, our stopcock is in the bathroom. So from standing in the bathroom, working out where the water was hurling out, I was able to just sort of turn around and turn the water off instantly. So it was relatively quickly rectified when we found it, but of course it had been happening for hours. But no, between the three of us, we managed to get it all cleared up, and we redid half the kitchen because we've got like a galley style kitchen. Because you have to walk in through one side of it to get through to the bathroom at the other side. So we've got kind of the hob and everything on the right hand side of the kitchen, and then the sink and fridge and everything on the left hand side. So all the stuff on the left hand side is relatively new and is higher up, but some of the stuff on the right hand side was in the water. So we know we're going to have some swollen chipboard. But interestingly enough, as there was so much steam in the ground floor, the whole house was really humid, but so much so that it actually, just from the steam alone on all the tiles, it's swollen the kitchen cupboards. So they've started to split, the laminates peeling off on the new stuff as well, because there's just so much steam in the air, even to the point of the back room, so probably 10 meters away from the bathroom. It was starting to peel the wallpaper off the walls. They'd all started to lift from the amount of steam. So it was quite crazy. I mean, it's all superficial. No one died. Everyone's
annoying.
Fine. It's a frustration, and it was a distraction because it took the morning to dry out the kitchen and bathroom floors and stuff. And it obviously meant.
Have you got a dehumidifier? Do you think you might need to use one?
I don't think we'll need it. I don't think it would give us much benefit either. Short of a lot of a lot of heat in awkward places. I don't think it would give us much benefit. I think once we'd got all the water bailed out, there was still enough latent heat in the tiles to at least help with that. We just opened all the windows and all the doors and left them open for the whole day. And then today again, we've opened a couple.
It's been good. I don't know about you.
It's been good
weather down here today.
Yeah, it's been really warm. But what that has meant is that it just, we've had to shift everything, and we had to. One of the jobs, ironically enough, one of the jobs I've been putting off for ages is pulling the bath out and then building a frame for the bath to sit in, because it's always been a little bit off, and because we're fixing the the hangers for the bath, because we're fixing them into tile, and they were never particularly great, so the bath had moved, so that all the silicone needed redoing. It's one of those, it's like, it's been on my list to lift the bath out and sort this for ages. I was just hoping that I could pick when that time would be, not that the bath would pick when the time would be. So of course bath was out, and we had to add some new copper in and new flexies and give everything a good scrub that we've been putting off, and scraping silicone off the tile.
Sometimes these things that come to test us actually do shift things up and get them sorted off the kind of to-do list.
Yeah, well, I mean, what it's sort of done is made me fix a few of the issues and then bodge it all to go back. So we haven't re-siliconed round, because I know I'm going to be lifting it back out again. But it's meant I've got a better understanding of the plumbing, because I didn't put the bath in. So now I've actually pulled it out and had a good look and know what's going on and all the rest. So it means we should be able to do a better job of it. And it's given me the kick up the backside to figure out a decent way of doing a bath frame, because of course where you would normally do the frame, the pipes are running, so you can't do that, can't do this.
Yeah.
So I want to just do it proper. But that's not a now job. That is a
future journey problem.
It's very much a future journey problem. But yeah. So
have you seen the Tom Scott's video? I know you've probably seen the meme that somebody put into one of the Discords that we're both members of.
Billy's Discord.
Tom Scott did a video on Tom Scott Plus yesterday, where he faced his fear of roller coasters. So since he's been a kid, he's been scared of roller coasters. So he got, obviously, as a 5 million plus subscriber YouTube star, he kind of got good access to places. So he got behind the scenes at Alton Towers, which is probably the UK's sort of premier theme park.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty fair to say it's probably one of the first ones, and probably one of the biggest and one of the most famous ones. And then he was riding some of the rides. Started off on a kind of a powered ride for kids, and then moved up to kind of Nemesis, which is kind of one of the your feet dangling down type ones. And there's a point in it where he says, I can't remember the exact phrasing now, but he basically said, I assigned that as a problem for future Tom, but now I'm future Tom.
Yeah.
And I've got to deal with it.
So for those of you not familiar with Tom Scott Plus, or Tom Scott 2, or whatever he's called the channel, Tom Scott, if you haven't checked him out, he's amazing anyway. Fantastic YouTuber, brilliant educator, proper nerd.
Nice guy. And good friends with Matt Gray, which I didn't realise until I was watching something else yesterday or the day before.
They have their own channel where they do a lot of stuff together, and that's also lots of fun.
Yeah,
it has.
I wasn't familiar with that channel, but I've subscribed now.
It's very, very good. That was what I was chatting to Matt about at Maker Central, saying about I missed their On the Bench series where they just chat crap on a park bench. It's lots of fun.
Who would do something like that? Can you imagine just two blokes just chatting shit on a bench, or it's like
sat in a couple of office chairs.
Yeah.
But no, the Tom Scott 2, Tom Scott, his second channel is really, really good, because he's doing a lot of stuff with a lot of different YouTubers.
Not necessarily big ones either. Yeah,
and he did a fantastic one a couple of weeks ago with Colin Furze.
Yeah,
at at an event or at a place not too far away from me, which we've since looked at and gone, we need to do it. But it was hovercraft racing. So they would do the hovercraft race. Halfway around the track, they would stop and fire arrows at a target to try and take seconds off their total time, and then finish the rest of the course, and then do axe throwing to pop balloons to take more seconds off.
That looked like a lot of fun.
That looked like so much fun. But I love the fact that Tom is kind of, because he's like the archetypal nerd, you know, he's got this kind of persona as being rigid and uncoordinated, kind of very cerebral, not very physical. But he's been challenging himself to do a lot of these other things, which it is fantastic to see. I'm watching his second channel more than I'm watching his main channel. Just because it's a bit of an inspiration for me.
Yeah, I didn't know about the second channel until he did came up on my feed, kind of recommended, where he went into a cave up in sort of Peak District. So he went caving with a young woman called Elise Freshwater Blizzard, who's she's a caver, but she's an aspiring sort of TV person. She's got her own YouTube channel as well. And I mean, I used to do a lot of caving, as I've talked about in the past, so it was quite interesting. And it was what was really good is that there was they took him in, and I mean, he had quite a heavy duty panic attack in this cave, and to actually then publish that to everyone to see, which is just like, okay, yeah, good on you for doing that. But I've been in that situation of seeing people have panic attacks in places like caves or on kind of halfway up a mountain or something like that. And it can be serious. It's a serious thing, and it can be particularly quite dangerous. I can remember once I was climbing. I was involved in Scouts, and it was at university, but it's kind of like Scouts were having a climbing day. Kind of went along to kind of be the kind of belayers and things. And one of the other guys who's in the same position as me, first year university, I think, he kind of, oh yeah, we finished now, so let's do a bit of climbing. I had my climbing rack with me. I said, okay, so he wanted to lead, and he got about 20, 30 feet up, and had a complete panic attack. I mean, he was on a fairly good stance, but he was just like he wasn't going anywhere. So I had to then climb up, essentially free climb up, and get him down again. So I'd kind of sort of rig him up and essentially lower him down. But yeah, they dealt with Tom very well. They did it. They were spot on with how they did it, and they didn't try and force him. They didn't try and persuade him to go further. They were very gentle with him. They got him out, and they were dealt with him appropriately. But what's quite interesting is that they did a repeat. It was probably about a month ago, and they went back into the same cave, but he went with better equipment. So he actually had a wetsuit on. We'd been wearing the wetsuit in typically in British caves. There are different types of caves. There's dry caves and wet caves. So what you wear varies depending on the type of cave. But generally, most people in the UK, most UK caves will wear pair of wellies, and then they'll have two suits on. So essentially, it's a boiler suit. So they'll have an inner one which is thermal. So I've still got mine. It's just like a onesie, basically. Occasionally, I've actually got it hanging on the back of our bedroom door because I do occasionally use it as a onesie. Not very often, but it's very particularly cold. It's so snug and warm. It's great. It's a bit of you kind of got to contort yourself to get into it because it's not very flexible. It's quite a stiff fabric, and then an outer
like a wear layer
goes over the top, which is the wear layer. Now, sometimes that is fully waterproof. And what some people will do, they'll tape the outer suit to their boots so that they can literally stand up. They can stand up to there, and you're not going to get wet. Especially if you kind of also tape your waterproof gloves over and you tape over. Most people don't do that because actually you're better off letting some of the water in. And in a lot of caves, there's not that much water. But if it's a wet cave, what some people do is they'll wear a wetsuit, often then with a boiler suit over the top, a whale layer over the top. And he went for that approach because one of the things that got him the first time was kind of cold water coming in and the shock, the thermal shock, getting cold, which people underestimate how actually bad that can be. I've seen somebody.
It's visceral, isn't it? It's not something you can control. It's a physiological response.
Yeah, instantaneous thermal shock. I've seen somebody hit cold water and go unconscious from it, and which is scary, especially when they're in water. It's just like, but they got him back in, and he had a wetsuit on. He'd been trying it in cold water, cold showers, sitting in a cold bath, etc., into the sea and things. So he was comfortable with getting uncomfortable.
Yeah,
and he went into the cave, and he got much further, and it wasn't easy for him, but he did it. And I think it's good to see people facing those kind of difficulties. And
yes, it's akin to like when some of the makers first started showing their failures. When it wasn't just a curated feed of successes and perfection. I know a lot of people credit Laura Kampf with that kind of showing the failed projects. I think that there's a number of people around that kind of similar time frame that started doing that. That were showing it's okay to actually fail because we all do. And I think this is kind of the start of a similar sort of thing. Obviously, the last couple of years has been particularly trying for the whole planet, or the human population of it, at least. But for Tom to be such a big name, to be actively showing human personal development and showing fears and showing failures and showing differences. I know Tom's always been very, very. He's always been a vocal advocate for all of us. Equality and diversity and in all walks of life. So for him to also open himself up to show his differences, the parkour video, for instance, that he did on his second channel, where quite often if you look at parkour stuff on YouTube, it's all these super fit, super athletic,
who've been doing it for
years and years and years of development, doing it perfect, or maybe tripping and trying and then doing it again and doing it, a ridiculous flip off the side of a building. And for Tom to turn up and go, I know nothing, start me from scratch,
not athletic,
get me doing something, and showing that development of a normal everyday human person tackling and learning something like that, it was really good.
I like that. I mean, it's like the learning. I quite like Mike Boyd. I think it's Mike Boyd, the guy who does the learning stuff, but he times himself. So it's like, I can't solve a Rubik's Cube. I'm going to learn how to solve a Rubik's Cube. This is now, day 0, time 0, or day 1, 0 time, whatever. I can't remember how he counts it, and then he records all the time that he's doing. So he's kind of, if it takes him a week to do it, and he's 5-8 hour days, that's 40 hours of learning, and it's rather cool. I like that, and I mean, he's clearly got the ability to learn. He's learned how to learn, and he shows that and he demonstrates that, and then it comes across. And it's not just necessarily kind of physical things. Sometimes it's cerebral as well. Whether it's kind of, there was one he did a while ago, it was coding. He had no idea about coding. He wanted to code something, and he learned how to code. And he set himself a task. He's just like, I'm going to learn how to code. Yeah, it's like, right, I want to do this, and I need to know how to code to do it. So I'm going to learn how to code to do this thing.
Yeah, I think and that's a key point you hit on there, is that learning how to learn. And I think that's one of those things that
it's time for my education rant of the week, because We don't teach kids how to learn in schools.
Yeah, exactly. But that is exactly the thing, isn't it? You know, you tell kids there are X number of ways to learn. You are either X, Y, or Z learner. If you don't fit into this camp or that camp or this camp, then get on the scrap heap. You know, and it's such a nuanced thing. You know, how many times have we all like tried to learn a skill on YouTube and gone through 5 or 6 different videos of exactly the same thing, but from 5 or 6 different presenters, until you find a presenter whose voice fits your, you know, the cadence of the way they say the words fits with the way that frequency your brain's currently at. You know, it's just that kind of finding the right way for the information to sink in, or
I used to say this for kids.
that makes
I used to say this for
analogy,
kids. So I can when I teach a particular topic in physics, I'll use a particular approach. So, for example, if I want to talk about gravitational potential energy and conservation of energy, I might do what things I used to do. There's a guy was called Dan Osman. He was a free climber. He died, not free climbing, because that got too boring. And there's a video clip that I've got of him climbing a cliff in somewhere in the States. It's a 400-foot cliff. He climbs it in like 3.5 minutes. It's phenomenal. It's got a kind of quite a fast-paced 90s punk rock kind of music beat to it, and it's really quite kind of fast-paced. And I put that on full screen on a projector, and the kids are kind of like, and they're seeing this guy. And at one point, like the stacks of cameras. At one point, they've got to scan back. When he's about halfway up, you scan back, and you see the figure disappear. You can barely see it. And then they sort of, a few moments later, there's a shot taken from above. So somebody else is on the cliff face, and they're shooting from above. And he takes from a double-handed hold, and he pulls up and does what's called a dyno, which basically means he's leaping for the next hold. And you can see, several hundred feet down to the floor, and you can see that he is no longer in contact with the rock at all. Yeah. Because normally, if you start climbing, they teach something called 3 points of contact.
Yeah.
So you keep either 2 hands and 1 foot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's 2 hands and 1 foot, or 2 feet and 1 hand are always in contact with the rock, and it's the only one is moving at a time. But he's completely off the rock and grabbing this thing. He's just a couple of meters up.
Yeah.
I just like the look on the kids' faces is just like. And he gets to the top, and he gets to the top in sort of 3.5 minutes. And I say to him, I could climb. When I was climbing, I could have climbed that. It's not hugely hard. It wasn't super easy. It's not something you take a beginner on. But when I was climbing, when I was top of my climbing, I could have climbed that. But I'd have needed somebody else, and I'd have needed a rope. And we'd have needed protective gear. And it would have probably taken us about 3 or 4 hours, possibly, depending on how the gear went, because it wasn't that easy. It wouldn't have been a slow trip. Or I could have walked up, and that would take you probably most of a day, because you've quite a long walk to get there and back. And so you can talk about kind of, the energy change from going from the top to the bottom, and where that energy come from, and what's his change in gravitational potential energy, blah, 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 and all the rest of the physics. And some kids, that's a great attention grabber, and they kind of get the idea fairly quickly and the things they say. But somebody might be sitting in the class going, that doesn't make sense to me. But as a physics teacher, experienced physics teacher, I've probably got another, depending on I talk with the kid or whatever, you get and possibly present another 3 or 4 different ways of presenting the same idea. And I'd often say to the kids, look, if you still don't get it, keep asking, because it might take the 6th or 7th before it goes, I get it now. And the art of teaching is to try and find the way that the majority of students get it the first time.
Yeah.
I ideally want all of them to do, but it doesn't always happen. Some things it does, some things it doesn't. But it's finding those things right. Okay, the first time I've got 80% of the class. The second explanation, I'm going to get the next sort of 15.
Yeah.
And now I've got kind of 5% I'll deal with, which may take a third or fourth or fifth explanation. Which is common. But we don't
There's
teach kids how to learn.
exactly.
We teach them how to read. We teach them how to write. We teach them how to do math. With that's kind of counting and the like. But we do not. Well, the majority of schools do not actively teach consistently, particularly how to learn. Some schools do. I don't know if they still do. There used to be a school up north, whose name I forget off the top of my head. They, in the early noughties, 2000s, they actually kind of put in a place. And the guy who he unfortunately passed away, the deputy head teacher who's kind of took responsibility for it, wrote a book with another guy, I want to call Astor Rose, might not be Rose. And they did a learning to learn, Cramlington High School. That's what it was called at the time. They did a learning to learn course, and they basically said to, I think, their geography and history teachers, first year in the school, there's going to be no history or geography teaching, which obviously the history and geography teachers were kind of apoplectic about. Yeah. They said, well, what we're going to do is we're going to teach the kids how to learn. And they developed a system that was used across the school. All new teachers to the school were trained in it when they joined. But what they found, and actually for the geography and history teachers, when they did get to teach them history and geography, they made so much more progress. They just went way beyond what if they'd been teaching the conventional way for longer. But most schools don't do that. Yeah, I worked at one school. They had a learning to learn lesson once a week, once a fortnight, and then it was decided that there could be better use of the time, so they scrapped it.
Sounds about right.
Yeah,
it's interesting, isn't it? Like, it's that kind of breakthrough moment. I think as makers, we're all kind of hungry for skills or hungry for giving anything a go. I mean, we said about Ellen before, prime example of the go big or go home mentality that she's got as
well, right now she's hopefully going to Finland.
Well, exactly. Absolutely.
For those who don't know, she's got a place in the finals,
third time, in the heavy metal knitting world championships. So it's going to be going to Finland for that. But that whole, like building the table, first woodworking project was to be able to build a dining table, an outdoor dining table for 10 people. Is your first woodworking project. That kind of mentality of like makers.
What's a bookend?
Yeah, exactly.
Box.
It's. I think we tend to have, as an analogy with the climbing, for instance. The free climbers. For those who've seen Free Solo,
I still haven't yet.
Gotta watch it. They do a test with him to check his fear response. And it's a test they give to various people at various times and things like that to kind of gauge, it's wired up to machines to test sweating and heart rate and blood pressure and all the usual stuff. And they show him various things that would usually in the normal human being trigger a fear response, and you'd be able to measure that response. And I think as makers, we've kind of trained ourselves out of that fear of the new. We go, oh, there's a new thing, let's play, rather than, oh, there's a new thing, I don't think I'm going to be good at that. For the most part, I think that there are obviously things that we do have.
I would say there still are. I think there's an element of there's the ADHD element as well with makers.
Yes.
New things to focus on. I can look up gear about this. Oh, look, you can buy this, and think about this, and I'll get some of that. And then it's look, it's the scroll thing, isn't it?
And this is the thing. So one of the for those who know me as a professional person, my day job is predominantly CAD. So I 50-50 split between CAD and IT basically. But I draw all day, every day. I'm either in 2D or 3D, depending on what the hell I'm doing. But I'm constantly drawing and have been professionally for 20 years. When it comes to pen and paper drawing, if it's something architectural type, I'm perfectly happy to do old school technical drawing on drawing board. Not a problem. Get me to draw anything organic or anything freehand, and I've never developed those skills. It could be, a perfect example of me being ambidextrous at that point. It's crap with both hands. But my tablet, I bought a pen for it.
Okay.
Not the super expensive branded version of it. I bought a cheap one.
Not the fruity one then.
It's a fruity tablet, but it is not the fruity pen. So it doesn't have some of the features, but it's a tenth of the, well, not a tenth of the price, but fifth of the price.
More reasonable price, yeah.
Yeah. And I've been trying to push myself to actually do a bit of stuff, because I've bought graphics tablets for the PC over the years. I can do. I did courses in college in things like Photoshop and ImageReady and Illustrator and things like that. So I know how to drive the software, but I'm just rubbish at the creative side of actually doing anything other than a technical rebuild of something else. And I managed to find an app for my tablet that would allow me to trace over stuff, essentially.
Okay.
So one of the things I've been doing over the last week or so, my wife and I have been discussing how we want to redo our bedroom. Once the other works in the house is done and stuff, we've wanted to actually gut it and redecorate. And in trying to visualize stuff, I my go-to would be to draw the whole thing up in CAD and then do all the texturing in there. I thought, well, do you know what? My wife's a phenomenal artist. So I said, why don't you draw it out, sketch the thing, and then we can color it in. And then I thought, hang on a minute, surely we should do this digitally. So taking the tablet, within the app, took a photo of a few different views in our bedroom, and then I sketched over the top of the room for the lines, taking the outline of the furniture and the walls and ceiling and everything that's going to stay where it is, so that we can then apply textures and colors and do artistic representations of the room. And it's been so much fun because of two things. One of which is a new matte screen protector.
Okay.
So
it's not quite sticky.
This is what's a game changer today, because this arrived today. It's a Japanese branded Smooth Touch screen protector, but it's got the feel of paper.
Ooh.
So rather than being just shiny or matte like you'd normally get, it's got that kind of like
bit of friction.
It's got a bit of friction.
Feedback.
Yes. So with the pen, it feels more like you're actually sketching with a pencil onto like heavy, watercolor paper almost. It's got that kind of feel to it. So it's a really nice tactile experience. But the other thing is a ruler within a guide ruler within the app itself. So for doing things like the perspective and getting the straight edges, because you can sketch something, but if you want it to actually look trace over the outlines, it's got all layer control and everything, and then there's a ruler that you can just 2-finger position on the screen, and then the tool will guide to it. And that's been just really, really nice experience to actually get me into doing some digital drawing. I'm not chasing Adam C here. I'm just doing some, currently trying to not compete with my wife, but actually, be somewhere vaguely in the horizons of, or her in the horizons.
Yeah.
you know.
But I'd like to do more digital art. I mean, one of the things I quite like to do, because obviously I'm doing the daily drawing, and some of the ones that I really like, I'd love to be able to. I know this is all possible, but it's just not something that I've the skills for yet. But I want to be able to scan some of those in to something like Illustrator, or even Photoshop. But more likely, more likely. Well, I've got the Adobe Suite at the moment. I'm contracted till October, and I am toying with maybe changing to sort of cheaperware, but
or across to maybe the
Affinity.
Yeah,
so just a one-off payment. I wish Affinity did a video editor. That would be a changing thing. Although, some of the phone apps, because I get access to quite a range of apps, some of which through Adobe. They're so good, so useful, so powerful, and I only use a fraction of them. But I think whatever way, anyway, one of the things I want to be able to do is to kind of sort of take a picture that I've done, scan it, take it into Illustrator, perhaps not a piece of software that I know very well. I still need, at some point, I need to sit down, find a course, or there are a few providers on YouTube who have content creators who've kind of got courses, and then kind of go, right, okay, I'm going to learn how to use it. I'm going to take my images in, straighten out bits that need to be straightened out, because I only do one picture. All my daily drawings. I might do a pencil sketch. This month I've been using a pencil sketch first. The last few months I haven't been at all, but this month I've been trying to do some harder drawings. Pencil sketch first, just to kind of get the lay of the land, and but then sometimes I'm drawing, and then because I've been using Biro, not the best of things, but then you kind of, if I'm on the page behind the page I've just done, so I've already done one side, and you turn over, and you hit a little lump where you press through, you can see it, but you hit a lump, and then you don't go quite the place you wanted to go. And my motor skills, artistic motor skills, aren't great yet. They're still. I want to go somewhere, and then I kind of don't quite go there. And but if I go into Illustrator, I'm hoping I can kind of sort of tweak some of that, because some of them I think would be good, maybe with a bit of color, or some of them would actually be quite good on digital art, maybe on merch. I don't know, but it'd be something to do, it'd be something to learn. Back to the learning, it's like, and I've got plans for that, because I've got this next week. One of my attention grabbers for this last week and this next week is exams. Still exam season, but next week is the last week of exam season. There's a few things up ahead coming up. We've got induction week for my youngest, the sixth form she's going to go to, and my eldest has got driving lessons and a job interview, because she's going to take a year out. And so there's a few things like that. And we've got various appointments and things to make and do. But I'm kind of, the end is in sight for homeschooling, because my eldest has been in school now for 2 years. My youngest now, she's going off to school in September. So kind of homeschooling, formal homeschooling is ending. We're just going to become just parents doing things, which is great. It's opening up hopefully some scope for me. I'm going to start doing some tutoring. I've already got one client lined up, so that's great. That's going to bring in a little bit of money, which will be great, considering now it's £100 to fill a tank of petrol in the UK. And food prices are going up. Every week our food shop, we're not extravagant with anything, but every week it's been going up. For probably 6 months now. So it'd be nice.
Does it also mean that with the additional time you might have, does that mean you'll get back to completed Instagram again?
I'm not going for that, actually. I still actually want to. At some point, I want to sit down and maybe go through and unfollow a few people. Not because I don't like them as people, but there's some people I followed just particularly a few years ago when it was
Follow
kind of
for
like,
follow
and the kind of you're in a group, say it's like a woodworking group on Facebook or some other group, and everyone goes, right, what's your Instagram page? And you kind of go and you follow a bunch of people, and sometimes you follow people, and you go, oh, that I'm glad there's there. And then sometimes you're just doing it because you're being polite, and you maybe get a follow back.
Yeah.
And I might lose followers in that process, and I don't care that much, really.
You just start off, get one of those apps on your phone that will tell you, it will give you
unfollowed.
the who's unfollowed, but you could get the ones because quite often they'll show you who you follow and whether or not they follow you back.
Yeah,
and just clear out all the ones who don't follow you back, and then you're not going to worry about losing your own followers. Then.
Yeah, some of those are the ones I really like.
Yeah,
because they're the artists and the photographers and the sculptors and
if they've got over 10,000 followers,
they've got like 15, 20, 30, 70, 100,000 followers, and they follow 300 people. Right.
Yeah,
that's that. So I'm gonna have a bit of a clear up. But I'm not. No, I don't want to. Just this morning, it was like it was this afternoon. I just put some food on. I haven't looked at Instagram today, apart from to check messages. I hadn't actually looked at Instagram to look at any pictures. It's like, oh, I'll do a few now. And it's like, I only saw half a dozen for something needed doing in the kitchen. But so I'm not going to rush to kind of try and finish Instagram. But hopefully, what I am going to do, I've got plans. There are plans for me as well.
The honeydew list,
yeah. But they're kind of there's things I want to do. I'm going to, because I will have more time for myself. So there's a couple of things I've got to do. Like I need to increase my exercise. Our dog's getting old. My exercise past few years has mostly been around just doing stuff around the house and walking the dog twice a day. She's now getting to the age, and like I think it was this morning or yesterday morning. Yeah, it was yesterday morning. I think it was 250 meters from the house. She did her ablutions and then refused to go on. Had to come home. Like, okay. So it was like, 600 steps. Yeah, it was hardly anything. So it's like, and there's getting more and more of that. So I'm getting less and less exercise from walking the dog. So I need to up my exercise. But I also want to put in place better processes where I kind of go, right, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to turn on my computer and I'm going to spend 20 minutes practicing how to use and using YouTube to teach me how to use Illustrator.
Yeah.
Right. It's now kind of, but then I'll do something else.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. A little bit later, then I'll kind of go, right, okay, I'm going to spend half an hour now every day at the same time. I'm going to spend half an hour practicing how to make composite images in Photoshop. Because I really like kind of some of the stuff that people do in kind of creating kind of good kind of particularly almost like the sort of almost like fantasy styling and some of the sort of crazy stuff where you kind of sort of see you got like kind of like Tokyo in the rain type thing, but then you've got a portal image. You've got a portal in the middle of a cityscape in the dark with street lights and rain, and then suddenly you've got this kind of something coming out of this electric blue portal that's appeared in the middle of the street, and you kind of superimposing multiple images. I'd like to learn how to do that, and hopefully we'll get back into making some videos, get back into the Tinkerage, get some live streams going in the Tinkerage, and also like thoughts on the Tinkerage, get some of those going again as well. And I mean, I've got a long list of things I want to do, but whether how many of these to do is another matter. I think it's I could fill my days, but then not actually have things like meals on the table when the others get home. Which could happen if I was on my own. I think there'd be a lot of kind of I'll just heat something up quickly. And, beans on toast for the third time today.
I've been in that situation where like if the girls go away for a few days or a week or whatever, I'll kind of get a load of stuff prepped first day, and then not have to think or worry. Just like, oh, I know my energy's low. I need to put food in. Right, okay. Find food, put food in, carry on what I'm doing.
Yeah, but I'm kind of hoping we've got, obviously there's exams still this week. We've got then a chaotic couple of weeks after that with lots of things happening. But I'm kind of hoping that there will be then an element of being able to get stuff done in the garden, get stuff done in the tinkerage, get stuff done in the house, learn some skills. The conservatory, ours is classic British conservatory. It's on the north side of the house, so it leaks when it rains.
Yeah.
It's too cold in winter, and actually, if you're on the north side of the house, it doesn't often get too hot. If you don't open windows or doors, then yes. But if you in the height of summer, it doesn't get too hot unless you keep everything closed. But that's going to. There's a lot of homeschool stuff out there, and the plan I have is to, obviously we're going to go through some of that. Some of that stuff's just going to go. We don't need 4 or 5 different Shakespeare plays and their associated revision guides and things like that, because that's not happening anymore. And then that's going to become a bit more of a craft room. I was hoping, we've got a dining table in the middle, and I was kind of hoping that the dining table, which is old, I had it free off a colleague 15 years ago. It was a year after, it was less than 15 years ago. It was the kind of in the year after we moved here. I'm kind of hoping that I could have got rid of that, but apparently we've got to keep it.
What you could do is, when you're moving all the homeschool stuff around to sort it out,
severely damage it. Yeah.
If it's big, heavy boxes, instead of like gently placing the box down, just from like a meter away, chuck the box to the table, so you just get that bit of racking to just.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could manage to throw something heavy enough to cause damage a meter away anymore.
That's a fair point.
But part of my plan is we've got quite a few cube shelves, the kind of sort of 4x2 kind of there. What would it be? 40 centimeters, 45 centimeter wide, sort of cubes, each individual cube. We've got 2x4. We've got 4 of those in there. 3 against the wall and the internal wall, and 1 against an external wall. And I want to take at least one of those, and it probably will only be 1 because of the size, and use that as part of a base for a craft table on casters. I've got some suitable casters. I've got, I think I have enough wood to actually do it completely without having to buy anything. So it's to make a craft table that's tall enough that I can work at when standing, or I can sit on a stool and work at. So that's the kind of sort of plan, because most tables, like the table I'm sat at the moment where I do some stuff, I can't stand. I can stand and work at it, but it's not for very long.
It's a box standard sort of 65 centimeter high.
Yeah, dining table. It's a nice space, it's a nice size, but not really tall enough. So the idea is I can have it tall enough that I can stand at it comfortably without having to bend over to do stuff like bookwork or drawing, whatever. Good surface for that. Hopefully then with storage in it and bits that I have some attachments for like cameras or lights. Probably put a extension box on it as well, so I can have power. So I only have to plug it in to one lead needs to be plugged in rather than a bunch, and have that fixed in place. Maybe have a fold-out laptop. Something. I'm hoping to kind of put like a lower shelf, so there's kind of
bulk workbench type.
Yes, exactly. So there's kind of top surface, and there's something just underneath, so I can have almost like a laptop that I can just fold out, maybe on a curve, so I can fold it up, and if I want to see something, watch something while I'm working, or
that's cool,
or even to kind of run a live stream, I can do that. So that's kind of hopefully get that for the summer. Winter will be tricky in the winter, but it'll give me a bit more space hopefully for doing stuff, and particularly for like the bookwork, and be able to leave stuff out. Because at the moment, a majority of the time, if I do stuff on the dining table, it has to go away. Sometimes you can kind of say, let's have a TV dinner and whatever, but You can't do that every night of the week.
Yeah,
well,
I need to.
can't.
I need to figure out a way of doing something similar for flat surfaces, because we've got similar sort of problem of any flat work surface that could be a suitable workbench table type thing
Becomes a storage
unit.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is when you've got relatively limited time frames. If you think, well, I've got half an hour now, I could just go and deal with this project. But you've got 10 minutes of setup time, 10 minutes of knockdown time. You've only really got 5-10 minutes worth of doing the project.
And that for me, that turns into I can't be bothered.
That's exactly it. I was trying to explain this concept a few weeks back, actually. But that, if you've got so many things on your list, it's kind of like the floating ducks game at the fairground, where you've got a big long stick with a hook on the end, and you've got to try and lift the ducks out. Some of the ducks have got bigger eyelets on them, so they're easier to get. And the really small floating ducks that you want to get, the high value ones that are more difficult, so you end up defaulting back to the bigger, easier to get ducks. And that's what it's like with projects for me. If I've got a task that's, if I'm in that sudden mood of like, right, I've got half an hour to kill on a project between now and the next thing that I've got to do, what can I tackle? And it's like I might have 3 or 4 projects that are of the same kind of weight, if you like.
Yeah.
But you default to the easiest one that you can make the most progress on. And sometimes that is recovery time, to take a moment. I've guilt-free played a bit of Xbox last night and this morning, because yesterday ripping a bath out and shifting 500 litres of hot water absolutely did my back in. So is that like,
kitchen floor's nice and clean though now, isn't it?
Yeah, it's certainly getting there. Yeah, it's still a bit of the occasional bit of where's that wet patch come from? But I think that'll happen over the next couple of days anyway, as things dry out properly.
Seeps out of the fiberboard or chipboard that the kitchen cabinet is made from. Yeah.
I tell you what, we're diverting back to that, but it was surprising just how much heat the floor tiles held in. That
ceramic,
ceramic tiles that had a 60 degree water on them for a few hours. Yeah, you stood by the loo having a wee, and my feet are still warm even though they're dry. 6 hours later.
Poor thermal conductivity, high thermal capacity.
Yeah,
perfect. I mean, think about like how a storage heater works, night storage heater. Yeah, bunch of concrete blocks. It's exactly the same principle.
It did make me think I would love to rip it all out. Like if you like the big lottery win type thing of like what you do, and my wife and I both said our respective plans for what we would want to do if for some reason if we started playing the lottery and then managed to win it. But it basically like the same kind of ideas of like we would just
underfloor heating.
We would get someone in to clear the house out while we were in the Bahamas or something. We would get someone in to clear the house out, do a load of work in it, and then put all the stuff back. And it would be things like, I think now after having stepped on a non-freezing cold floor, so then maybe just get it all lifted up an inch or so with some underfloor heating.
About 10 years ago, we were looking for, probably about 10 years ago when we were looking to get our bathroom done, and we kind of going around various tile stores looking to see what was available. Yeah, we defaulted to B&Q, of course. We went to one, and they had a little demonstration setup of a bathroom with tiles floor with underfloor heating. And basically, you could take your shoes off and then stand on the thing. It was just like, oh, this is glorious. But it was just like, no, we couldn't be. Our floor's a bit funny upstairs, and not really an option.
It's crazy now when you think that when I was showing Duncan the Costco website the other night, and even just at Costco or even down in Screwfix and Tool Station and stuff like that, you can just go and buy a full kit for electric underfloor heating.
Yeah.
And it's 20 mil thick, give or take, as a rollout mat, and then you plug it in, screwed over the top.
Yep.
It's entirely doable for not much more effort than you would putting lino down. And so I think you could just plug this thing in, pour epoxy over the top, lino down on top of that, and yeah, you've added a couple of £100 extra to your thing, but then you've just added underfloor heating. Yes, albeit in a bodgy way, but it's nuts that it's not the realms of like, oh, there's this specialist contractor who you can employ to get some parts from whichever European country is developing the thing now, because we're not. And it's not the realms of witchcraft and
totally. It's finding these things, isn't it? These things are doable now. It's and yeah, as technology develop and change, of course, yeah, when underfloor heating first came in, ignoring the kind of Romans and their underfloor heating, which of course,
they
a thousand years ago they were doing that. But yeah, we forget half the stuff the Romans did. Yeah, but you think how kind of when it first came in and was available, it was specialist installers, really expensive, out of the range of a DIYer on a normalish budget.
Yep.
And I mean, I think that's the current situation for things like air source and ground source heating. But give it another few years, those will become more available.
Yeah.
It won't be just a few installers and maintenance.
I think, like, even going back, I know it's been a bit of a nostalgia episode, this one, but sort of my involvement with like green projects and stuff through work, going back 15 years, when people were talking about ground source or air source heat pumps, like being in the realms of witchcraft again, like, what, you got to do this, and it's going to cost you 50 grand to stick a ground source heat pump in, or stuff like that. And then now we're like specing residential projects with technology that's 5-10 years old. There's like, oh yeah, just stick a heat pump in. It's crazy to think that it's not. It's like all the pace of technology now, and like seeing the emergence of stuff. And then you've got people like, I can't remember what the bloody channel is. I always get Technology Connections and them mixed up. I can't remember the name now, but they do a load of like science and engineering type stuff. They've done things like swamp coolers and all sorts of really cool stuff. But they've done, again, like building your own solar thermal kit. And you think, well, hang on a minute, you could realistically run underfloor heating with solar thermal.
Yeah.
In the UK, quite easily, gravity fed solar thermal system you could build yourself. Would cost nothing to run.
Would gravity feed do it, or would you need a pump of some sort? Because
pump would be more efficient.
Water rises. Yeah, because warm water rises.
You could still do. It wouldn't be like a gravity-fed heating system. It would be.
Okay.
It would be. You would rely on the expansion to push through.
Okay.
For the flow. But yeah, I mean, I was thinking as something that would essentially cost you to build and then not to run. But I mean, sticking a little tiny, like a Grundfos pump in a minimal amount of energy used to run. You'd only need a little tiny thing to. Granted, you'd need an underfloor heating manifold and things, but assuming you're doing it all properly. But again, if you're doing it as a DIY thing, you could very easily build a super low cost underfloor heating system, purpose built just for UK based heating your house.
There's some amazing. I mean, there's some amazing technology and has been around for years. The garden festival in the garden festival. I don't know if they still do. I don't think they do. Do they garden festivals?
Not to my knowledge.
1992 garden festival was held in Ebervale in South Wales, and as part of that, they built some eco-friendly houses. There were a variety of different companies. I think they're still there. There was one British Steel did. So at the time, it was still British Steel at the time.
Yeah.
It was a really nice house, but they had some really interesting kind of design features. And it was, I mean, it was that I got quite interested in kind of aspects of design, eco sort of design then. And it was, I mean, this was, I think, before things like Grand Designs and some of the stuff that they were doing. And I think it was a couple of years later, I found out about a house that had been built near Caldicot, I think, in South Wales, that was it was super insulated. It was designed with huge front windows, or south-facing windows to kind of absorb sun. They had a thermal store, and this house in the Garden Festival had as well, a big thermal store block wall in the middle of the house. So when that would heat up with the thermal energy of the sun, passive design, it would just then radiate heat then for hours to come. And the house in Caldicot, they claimed at the time that it would cost £5 per year to heat. Because it was so well insulated with the passive solar design put into it. They basically had a little fan heater that would be needed just to top up in the worst of winter.
Yeah.
And Wales, not the coldest of places in the UK, not as cold as some places in Scotland, but not the warmest places either. It was just like amazing.
I think the problem with a lot of these designs, because we get involved with quite a lot of these work, and the problem with most of these designs is people.
Yeah.
If you've got a super insulated house, keep the windows shut. But the first thing people want to do is, let's get the windows open. It's all these, it's these little things of like, humans have got this innate desire to fix discomfort as quickly as physically possible without rational thought.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, to harken back to another sort of previous experience of trying to educate someone in something that you have experience in, was in Vision Express, get my eyes tested a couple of years back, middle of summer, and it was a battle between two members of staff on the controls for the aircon. Because it was warm. One member of staff was too hot, and they kept pushing the button to turn the aircon on. The other member of staff would walk under the aircon and go, "Oh my god, it's freezing," and turn it off again. So the temperature bearing in mind this is a Vision Express store that's in a shopping mall. So there's a lot. It's a big 3 meter by 3 meter opening at the one end of the store anyway. That's huge volumes of air from the shopping centre coming in and out anyway. But halfway down the store, they've got this aircon cassette unit above top, and they were just getting frustrated, battling between the two of them. Every time one of them would walk past it, they'd hit the controls. And I was trying to explain to the two of them, I was like, look, don't set the aircon unit down to 16 degrees, and then the other one comes hurtling over, goes, "Oh my god, it's freezing," and turns it off or turns it back up to 25. It's like you don't want to drop the temperature by 3 degrees immediately. What you want to do is gradually pull the temperature of the room down to a comfortable level that everyone's happy with for the rest of the day. Don't put like a massive blast of heat and then nothing, or a massive blast of cold and then nothing. But as humans, we've got this thing of like, I'm uncomfortable now, let's fix it. Whereas with those like super eco-friendly designs, you need to do the thermal store during the day when you've got this free solar energy, keep that overnight, and then allow it to radiate through in the colder times. it's that kind of natural, slow change cycle.
Yeah.
Like we've got a project at the minute through work that's got this overnight passive vent system. So the idea is, in the cooler temperature on the night, what they do is they cool the main space down via the ventilation system. When you're just cycling colder air through it to lower the overall temperature of the room, and it's a lot less energy intensive. But what it relies on is these big cycle changes rather than like instant change. And we had a project a few years ago with a school that was all BMS controlled. So it's a building management system. It's programmed by a controls engineer or mechatronics engineer as they are now. And it's fully, there's sensors all over the school, massive air handling units on the roof, solar PV, the whole lot to manage and control this system. And they program in loads and loads and loads of smarts into the building management system, so that it will do things like check the weather based on projected reports of what the weather is going to be and what the weather currently is, what all the sensors are reading, and then it will adjust the temperature control for air handling accordingly before the start of the school day, so that when the staff and the kids come in, it's the expected temperature, rather than saying turn the AC on for X% for X hours, whatever. It will adjust itself accordingly so that it's correct. But this whole thing was supposed to be a learned system. So what you would do is set, when the building was commissioned, the commissioning engineers set all of the TRVs on the radiators, balanced all the rooms, balanced all the handling, any of the ventilation systems, supply and extract, got everything so that the rooms were as expected for all the sensors. So all the smarts would just handle it. But what would happen is the staff would come in and go, oh my God, it's roasting in here, and throw a window open. Or, oh, it's super warm today, we want a load of air in. Throw a window open. That would then knock all the sensors off. Or they would go, oh, it's, they've just turned up to school, and while the school's bringing itself up to temperature, knowing that there's going to be X hundred bodies in there. So we've done all the calculations on the thermal modeling for the entire building to calculate, the thermal output of humans occupying a space. But then members of staff would come in the morning, sit at the desk, oh, it's cold in here, and then crank the radiator up. So then the room gets too hot, so then the air handlers kick in, start cooling the room back down, and then it's just this vicious cycle. So then we just had this battle of them constantly. And they were going, oh, the building's not doing this, and it's doing this, and all the temperatures are out. And then we'd send a commissioning engineer back in, he'd check everything, he'd go through all the building management system. You're right, okay, so all of these rooms, everything's been changed on them. That's why nothing works. We're setting them back again. Leave them alone. Don't touch the things. Let the building do the building things. If it takes half an hour to warm your room up when 300 kids have appeared in the school and it's accounted for that thermal mass of bodies, let it be half an hour instead of 15 minutes to warm your room up. Because what you're doing is you're warming the room up in 15 minutes, that's then overshooting the temperature, that's then kicking the air handler unit in, that's then feeding a load of supply air in, and then you knock everything out. So trying to explain to members of staff that we've set it, don't touch it. And that's the problem with humans in a space. When you put a lot of clever stuff in, they still think they know better.
Yeah.
And you go, it's summer, you're all working in an office, all wearing the same clothes, apart from one person who's wearing a summer dress rather than work attire like the rest of the members of staff. So would we make everyone else super hot, or make one member of staff put the cardigan back on? It's things like that you can't account for people being people when you spend X hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of pounds on a system. People are always people.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
It's the old adage, it worked in the CAD. when it gets to the engineering department and the guy tries to make it on the mill and then phones you up and goes, "This doesn't work. It works on my screen. It's fine. You mind doing it." This projected thermal model should work. Oh yeah, we put people in it. People were allowed to touch things.
Yeah, this was kind of Murphy's first law of combat as well, though, isn't it? Yeah, no plan survives first contact.
Yeah. Well, as Dave said, don't forget that the systems are designed for 40-year-old men's preferences.
Yeah, because
absolutely, yeah.
Why wouldn't it be?
Well, this was always my argument of like in an office, we because in the office we've got a couple of middle-aged white male mechanical engineers and a handful of people who are not that. But having those guys with those skills means that when we're trying to tune the air conditioning in our little office at work, we get into some serious nerdy nuances about stratification and all sorts of fun and games. But then that gets into discussions of how we orient people in the office and how we orient the air to model the airflow so that we get the right amount of cooling in the right places and things like that. And then, people like myself who are unfortunately plagued with allergies, so it gets to summer times. I'm a big guy. I don't deal well in heat. So I like to be cooler, and I like to, if we're in a situation where it's 28 degrees in an office, that's a little bit outside of my comfort zone. I would like to maybe switch on the aircon and have the aircon. But the people sat by the windows would quite like to have some fresh air, so they'll open the windows, so then we'll turn the aircon off. And then I'm sat in the middle of the office, absolutely sweating my arse off. You're right. So, can I take my shirt off? No. So can I go home and sit in my own office with aircon on? No. Right. Okay. Can we put the AC back on and close the fucking windows, please? It's like I'm going to be snotting and scratching my eyes out and covered in sweat. Would you rather that, or you be slightly chilly so you have to put your cardi back on? Those are the two options. Or either that, I'm going home. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You get your education run. I'm getting the temperature runs.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. The number of times I say schools, heating in schools can be atrociously bad.
Well, that was the struggle we had because it's a predictive system and a reactive system. They had a situation that they called us up. Like this is really, really broken, and we could dial in and see what the BMS was doing and things. And because there was no, I'm going to say forethought, but in a massive hall that's not normally used at that time, the building didn't know that was going to be something that was needed. So it wasn't coded for. So the idea is, if it's something outside the norm, you go in and hit a button and do an override that then gives the building enough time to react. But of course, that hadn't happened. What they'd done is they've decided to do a big thing with a lot of people. So all the usual children that would be in an assembly, plus all the usual staff members that would be in an assembly, plus a load of other people that were coming in as well. So they basically doubled the occupancy of the room. So then the temperature just skyrocketed, and it was the middle of summer. So of course all the doors were then flung open. So of course all the sensor readouts are all over the place. It's like, if you close the doors, give it 5 minutes of people being uncomfortable, the air handlers will kick in and adjust. But if you fling the doors open and then hit the button, all the temperatures are going to be out. So it's just, here's the instructions, use the instructions. It's fine. Just do the right thing. Not what you think.
I've got to tell you about the school I used to work at. They had heating changed in the school. Some of it, not all of it. I mean, they used to have like the big old cast iron radiators, the big thick steel, the kind of vertical ribbed, you could put your hands in between. They had some of those, and they were ripped out where they could, because they couldn't rip them all out. But they just disconnect them. and they had things like the radiant heaters, water-fed radiant heaters on the ceiling. But in the hall, they had alongside the kind of hall, so you had a stage at the front, kind of hall, and then down the side of the hall there was like a raised gallery. It was like an open-sided corridor, and they, as part of this kind of heat installation, they installed on the kind of in the kind of hall, not the gallery. So the gallery at the side, and then kind of a dwarf wall, big gap, and then it raised up because the ceiling for the hall was quite high. And they had some kind of downwards forced air heaters. They had a series of those installed on that kind of wall, because the other side was just glass, floor to ceiling glass.
Yeah.
So they had this down sort of side to heat the hall, obviously, or thermostatically controlled. The dwarf wall in the hall side of it had two probably 4 meter long standard convector radiators, water-based, on the side. So you had thermostatically controlled heater directly above working radiator.
Yeah, convected heat rises.
Yes!
Convected hot air rises.
Oh, it's just like...
It's funny that, isn't it? I mean, that's...
I was just the head of physics. What would I know about thermodynamics? Yeah.
Yeah, we get this kind of stuff all the time with jobs that we've got, because a lot of the work we're doing is coordinating stuff between you might have an architect's designed a building, structural engineers designed how it's going to stand up, and electrical contractors designed roughly where some stuff's going, and mechanical contractors designed roughly where some other stuff's going. And then quite often you overlay all the stuff together, and you've got 4 sockets behind 3 radiators in a room. It's like, hang on a minute, let's just see what's going on here. Right, okay, so the architects moved the walls, not told anyone. Structural engineers left a load of columns in a place where the architect's wall originally was. So now those 3 radiators in one room is because it was 2. And putting sockets behind radiators is never a good plan. But yeah, that kind of trying to make sense out of something overall. Like even the smart thermostats now, everyone's moving to fancy thermostatically controlled radiators that link to your thermostat in your house, and then everyone brings the thermostat into the living room and wonders why all the other rooms in the house are cold, or things like that. It's just stop letting people think. They're not very good at it yet.
Don't let people think. It's generally not a good idea. But then if you don't,
it's almost a worry when you start thinking, well, hang on a minute, we're getting to the point of I'm starting to agree with the guys in the Matrix, and that maybe the illusion of control is better. Maybe like the closed doors button on an elevator. It doesn't really actually do anything generally. It's just that make you feel better by clicking a button. Or like when you're a kid and the Pelican Crossings, where you've got the button to wait, and then there's a point in kind of adolescent life where you discover that there's a spinning thing underneath that, and then before you realise that it's actually disability aid for visually impaired people. One of your mates tells you that, oh yeah, spin that thing and it changes the lights quicker. No.
Or
it's because you think it's doing
press
something.
Press the button 5 times in a row.
Yeah, it's that placebo effect is good enough.
I get like traffic light. There's a thing with like traffic lights. The kind of the portable ones for work. Yeah, highways sort of put in. Yeah, some of them. Yeah, you kind of there used to be a thing. If you flash your lights at them, you're approaching, it would change quicker. And there were some that they would work for. And in some situations, it does work still. Yeah, because they'll be monitoring both. Yeah, they're semi-smart traffic lights nowadays. Well, there's no traffic coming from this way. There's a car come this way. Okay, the lights changed on their time, but actually now we'll just accelerate it to this one so this car can go through because there's no cars going the other way. So there are some smart systems out there. And there were some, and I think there's still some around, but you flash your lights out, they will change quicker. But sometimes, and I'll kind of drive to at night, you're driving along these traffic lights, you can see there's nothing coming the other way, you flash your lights. Oh, look, it's just changed. It was going to change anyway.
Yeah.
But I felt like, you feel like, oh, yeah, I made that happen because I flashed my lights at it, like main beam rather than.
So I did, because I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's that. That feeling, that illusion of having just commanded something to happen. And I remember years ago, I think I was living up in the northwest at this point, and when you get when there's a storm coming and you can smell it in the air, that ionization, and I was in a music shop, and as I was walking out, I was like, that's weird. It's got that feeling of a storm. And I just kind of like lifted my hands up. And then as I dropped my hands, there was a big clap of thunder. And for a brief moment, I did wonder. And I lifted my hands back up and tried it again. It didn't work. Apparently it wasn't me.
Or maybe it was the first time, but then you tried thinking about it rather than just letting it happen.
That's true. I haven't yet given the Arthur Dent approach to flying a try, just to be safe. The aim at the floor and miss. But it's the we've gone down a nerdy track straight off there, but the not thinking too hard about it and just not hit the floor. Allow the subconscious to make thunder happen.
Just let it happen. Yeah, let it happen.
Floor approach.
I think we'll probably get to a point. Obviously, we're wafflers. We could talk for probably hours more, but we've got.
Yeah.
There's a maths exam happening tomorrow morning. Although I don't have to go and do it, I have to kind of get everyone else ready for it. So it's a thing. Anything been grabbing your attention other than leaking baths this week?
Got my Make It Sofa t-shirt arrived.
Yeah, you certainly have.
So repping that. Got it in the grey because I've got far too many black shirts and grey's my colour. So Make It Sofa stuff. Yeah. It's good. Well, yeah, you've got it in the face. I'm getting it in the sides. And also get your asses over to craftwithellen.com and buy some Pearl Power merch. And let's get Ellen to Finland.
Yes. And kind of thinking about other things that happened. Paul Cunningham, who was on the other week,
has
given the dates for the Essex Makers meetups over the summer.
Yes. We are. I am penciled in for the July date, 30th of July.
I'm hoping I can get to it. I need to work out a few details. Need to check things. Our summer schedule's not quite worked out yet, so we don't. Yeah, we got to June. That's about as far as we've got. Because exams. That's been the entire focus. It's been kind of exams. So I'm hoping I can make it. It's nice. So it's only 12 till 6, isn't it? It's 12 till 6, the event.
Yeah, I think there'll be drinkies afterwards.
Yeah. So hoping I can make it. We'll see. I should do. Hope a few others will make it too. It should be a good event.
Yes, agreed.
Looking forward to that. Donna's just joined the chat. Hi, Donna.
Perfect
time. We're just wrapping up. I think for me, it's all been exams this week. But I do want to shout out somebody I've discovered a little while ago, not too far ago, on Instagram, also on YouTube, called Willow Creative, who's a prop maker. Something wants me to say she's based in the Netherlands, but I'm not sure if that's necessarily correct. Sure. I will put a link into the show notes. She's working on a costume for a character which I have no idea what it is. It's got armor and horns and 3 glowing blue eyes.
I think it might be a game character thing.
I'm
not sure what from.
Probably, yeah. But it is blooming incredible. Particularly as it's the headpiece, which is kind of I don't think animatronic is quite the right word, but essentially when she opens her mouth, when she opens her mouth, there's an inner mask which has connections to the outer mask, so the outer mask opens. So and it's not like kind of you open the mouth, you can see her face inside. It's kind of opens the mouth, and it's just still this incredible.
Yeah,
it's just one of the most phenomenal cosplay things I have seen ever, and it's not even finished yet. Yeah. But she's also done. There's another piece that I saw on her Instagram, which I've seen other people do, and possibly as well. I haven't looked at it in close detail, but essentially it's a giant pair of wings for someone to wear, kind of like, I don't know, demon wings or angel wings. So it's kind of got a coat on, but the wings are sticking out the back, and they open. They're not just there. It's not just kind of like some people wear for Halloween, where they've got a pair of wings on it and they're just some elastics over their shoulders. This thing is
done proper.
Yeah, kind of. They open and kind of they give you a whack as well. I think she's got a linear actuator. There's a back mount. There's a back plate, and there's a linear actuator. So as that kind of thing shifts, then the whole thing just kind of goes, and they fold out properly, almost like proper wings. It's phenomenal.
Just wondered if I can get one of those made in the next few months, because that'd be really cool.
Well, I was thinking about this. I was listening to. I posted this in the Makes Waffle WhatsApp group earlier. I was listening today to a podcast, episode 38, I think it was, of Maker's Method. Van Oaks Props is the one guy, and I can't remember the name of the other guy. Dr. somebody other. They're prop makers. The one guy, he's particularly into does a lot of Halloween type stuff, but for the rest of the year he makes other things. But Halloween is his big thing, like gravestones. And the other guy is he's particularly known for Star Wars. Get it right, not Star Trek. Star Wars, the KS2 droid. This is quite tall droid, and he puppeteers it. And they were talking about, they had an extended. There's 2 versions of episode 38. There's kind of a normal length, which is about an hour, and there's an extended length one. Because they were talking about going to the celebration event at Anaheim this year, which is the Star Wars celebration. So it's just called, I think it's just called the celebration event, but it's the Star Wars event. So everything it's just about Star Wars. Apparently it's coming to London next year. But I was looking at it, they were talking about, they made these costumes to go, and they'd had various sort of things. They were talking about the stuff they'd seen and whatever. It's an interesting chat, and they seem like nice guys, and they don't generally have guests, but it's good. But I was thinking, I've never apart from I did a fancy dress once. I think I've done fancy dress. I was in school. It was I hired a monk's outfit. Kind of thing, just it was the simplest thing to do. And I think there's a toga event at university that won't go into that one. Apart from that, I've never done cosplay. I've never done fancy dress or anything like that. And I was thinking, if I was going to do a cosplay, what would I do? And I don't know what I would do, to be honest. I mean, glasses always present a bit of a difficulty, as does a beard. So yeah, you kind of think, do I kind of do something? Do I kind of maybe grow a beard in a particular way in order to kind of do something? Do you go for something that's just in universe, or do you go for something that's from an event? I was thinking, like the. I mean, it's like Star Trek. You just stick on an engineer's outfit, don't you? You just stick on a badge, and anyone can be in Star Trek because you just kind of just have the red, blue, or yellow, gold, isn't it? I suppose not yellow, kind of.
I mean, in fairness, you could say the same about Star Wars. You just be one of the background.
Well, this is it, yeah. But some people, dress up as they go as Han Solo, they go as the Mandalorian, but then somebody else will go as a. Because Mandalorian's more of it's like Viking, isn't it? It's a title for anyone can be a Mandalorian. Am I right in that?
Yeah.
I'm not nerdy enough on these particular things. So some people go as the Mandalorian from the show. Others go as just another generic Mandalorian. So they'll have the same style of helmet, they'll have the same style of armor, but they'll have their own twist on it. So they might be female with a female armor rather than as armor is different for males and females. But it's kind of like, what would I do? What would I go as? What would I do? Would I go as? Is there a particular character I would want to be, or would I go for something? If you can still get Mandalorian helmet on, you can still keep your glasses on. Get specs inside, so it doesn't really matter. If you go as a stormtrooper, every stormtrooper is the same. That's kind of the point. Or different types of stormtroopers. Or do you go as kind of just kind of generic person from the universe? Don't know. Kind of, it's one of those sort of things. I kind of like the idea of getting into prop making and making sort of things for cosplay, but I'm not sure whether cosplaying is something I would do. There's a bit of me wants to, but there's a bit of me that kind of goes, can't you bother? That's generally about getting near people. But then it's also people hiding if you're near people.
You're getting to the point in your life, I think, where you'd make a very good Ben Solo. No, not Ben Solo. Ben Kenobi.
Well, this is it. Yeah, did he have specs? Yeah, I can't be all the contacts. Tried that once.
Well, I think you could safely just take the specs off when you get a photo taken. But blue lightsaber, long brown robe, speak slowly, you'll be fine.
Yeah,
put a bit more husk in the voice.
Yeah, I just have to have kind of a 10-hour waffle just before I'll make a central. I was pretty husky. I have to make a central. That was...
it was several pints of cider and lots of chatting, I think, wasn't
it? Continuous talking for 4 days and 3 days. 3 days. Continuous talking for 3 days and copious amounts of fermented apple-based product. Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. Well, in that case, shall we cut it there?
Midnight. It's midnight. Yeah. Hopefully, Dom will be back on. I have actually now had a message from. So, he sends his apologies. We will get him on hopefully in maybe a few weeks' time, and we'll have to find some way to make sure that he's on. Obviously. You never know what causes people to miss things and not be available.
We've done a pre-record recently for ready for the end of the month and stuff.
Yes, we do have a pre-record coming up.
We can do some more pre-records. I'm sure the audience won't mind too much.
No, well, there's a couple of times over the summer where you're not going to be available. I haven't got plans for July and August sorted out yet, sort of family plans. So there may be times when we may have to have a few pre-records.
But plus there's a few guests who can't do live as well, and they are people we do want to have on. So you're just going to have to put up with it, people.
Yeah. we've got one coming up, aiming at the end of
June.
this month.
Yeah.
End of this month, start of next month. Yeah. So, yeah, right. Well, we've been chatting for 2.5 hours. So,
yeah. Give our audience a break.
Yeah, we wait for a short one. Yeah. We just start. We just have a short chat. Yeah.
I mean, in fairness, this is a short chat for us.
True.
Normally, we've got a guest to distract
True.
us.
Yeah. Yeah. On that note, I better hit that button. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye, folks.
Good night, folks.